Hello, everyone. Glad to see you back at Silver Tears Tarot. A warm welcome, of course, to those of you who are joining for the first time. Today, we're looking back onto your situation with your person, but we're doing another check in where we focus on what they're thinking, how they're feeling about the situation. So we just had a soulmate reading that was sort of a broader check-in on the situation. There were a lot of things that came out. So if you haven't seen that one, you may want to. But as I was reading it at one point, I remember thinking I don't remember if I said it, that we needed to check back in on your person. So today we're doing that. We saw the catharsis in the energy in the last reading. And that was that broader soulmate reading, but it was not without a few limitations. So your person is still very concerned about being able to measure up. We saw they had this great love for you, but it was clarified by the ideas of, oh, but I don't deserve it, or I just wasn't ready for this, when it happened. In fact, as I think about it, this sort of sentiment has come out in a few readings lately. So let's look into that. It's just something to be thinking about. And of course, these are general readings, may not resonate with everybody, but the fact that it's pick a pile lets you pick the best reading for you. So it also lets you watch more than one possibility if you need to. And if you enjoy the videos, please be sure to like, share, and subscribe so you'll be able to stick with me. So far, this has been an amazing ride. Our flame has been growing within the collective, and I want to thank you guys for that, because that's you. Your amazing energy all comes together to form this collective that I'm reading for, and we've been watching it evolve. I've been feeling it evolve. Now we still got to do a pick a pile reading once in a while, because sometimes the energy, it comes in a little bit fragmented. It would just be tougher to sum it up with a single storyline. So I feel that out question by question, in case you were wondering. So it's time to pick out your pile. You can choose pile 1 with the Moonstone, pile 2 with the black Tourmaline, or pile 3 with the Amethyst. And as I say, don't overthink it. Just breathe. Let yourself drift toward one of the piles. Watch more than one if you feel drawn to more than one. And you can always pause it if you need to. So if you chose pile 1, it's going to be right up. For pile 2 or 3, you can get the link timestamps down below. So pick your pile and let's get started. All right, so starting out here with pile 1. Pile 1 had the Moonstone. Moonstone is one of my favorites, and this obelisk absolutely does not disappoint. It has a lot of detail, a lot of great color. That's one of my favorite ones. And I'm going to be reading for you from with the Radiant Tarot. So this is the Radiant Tarot, and then I'm going to clarify with Alice in Wonderland Tarot. I always like to introduce my decks. So again, we're going to be taking a look at your person. We did a check-in with them about 2 weeks ago, but it feels like a lot has shifted since then. So we're going to take a look at what's going on in the energies just currently. And in fact, that's the first question that we're going to ask. So it's just kind of the current energy that's flowing between the two of you, because even though this is a check-in on your person, it is relevant to the two of you. And I always just take that top card unless I'm guided to take more than that. So this is the Temperance card, but it's in reverse. And so the energy between the two of you is not completely balanced at this time. And I guess I would expect that, because it almost feels like a tempest of emotion and, just sort of winds blowing both directions and a lot going on when I feel this card. So we'll clarify it here in a little bit and understand a little bit more about it. But for now, we just know that there's a sense of there's incomplete balance between the two of you. So that's the energy that's happening between the two of you. Let's see the energy that's just surrounding your person. Just the energy surrounding your person. And so again, just taking that top card, something is ending. This is the Death card, and so it's that sense of something ending and something else coming from it. So you see on this card, the flower is growing from the end. You see all the skulls down here, and those represent the death and then the rebirth. is in the flower. And so that is what's happening in your person's energy right now. So there is a death and rebirth sort of energy, which it's not surprising to me that there would be a tempestuous sort of energy or a not quite a balanced, calm energy within them. And then we know that that you'll be bringing your own emotions to that as well. But for them, they've got this sense of rebirth, something new that is happening. It does not feel like a bad thing, but it does feel like an uncomfortable thing. Let's look a little bit into how they feel about you. So this is going to be how they feel about you. They have a decision to make. So there is something, and it feels like it's meant this so many times here lately. But when I see the Two of Wands come out, you know how sometimes it can mean travel. It can mean you're in a crossroads. You have a decision that you have to make. So it is still that decision, that this or that sort of feel to it, but it's also got that travel element, but not necessarily physical travel. Like there could be physical travel, but what I'm getting here is that sense of emotional travel. You have to travel an emotional distance to get on the same page with your person, and that's what I see is happening here, and that's what they feel. So they feel like there's some sort of distance between the two of you from an emotional standpoint, possibly. Could be something beyond that. So it could be from a values standpoint or something stands between the two of you, and they don't know if the two of you will be able to meet in the middle or traverse that emotional distance that's between you to come together. So that's kind of like it feels like a worry when I feel the card. Let's see how they feel about the relationship itself in general. Oh, wow. Okay, so King of Cups. So there's an emotional feeling here, but it is not necessarily that they're gonna let it all show. So the King of Cups does not give the whole cup. The King of Cups is very interested in remaining stable and having that emotional consistency, emotional stability. And so the fact that this comes out, if it was the Queen of Cups, it would just be flowing love. But the King of Cups tells me that there's some sort of limitation there. And so there's something about this situation that makes your person limit the way that they let emotion flow or the way that they give love in your situation. But there is a lot of love there. So that's interesting. Our next question here is going to be about the hidden energies that are here. And again, that is it's what's hidden. It's what's not showing to you right now, what's not obvious from where you stand. And maybe it would be, if you were standing from a different if you were looking at it from a different vantage point, but from where you stand, something is not obvious. What is it that you need to know, but that isn't, the obvious? We had the moon in reverse wanting to flip over, but then it changed its mind. Um, Hint, hint, though, there are secrets coming out. That was kind of an honorable mention sort of jump. Okay, so we have the Page of Wands in the hidden energy. And the Page of Wands, this is that courageous and curious page. Um, doesn't always make the best decisions, but very interested in kind of jumping in. And so this one's ready to go. This one's ready to travel. This one is potentially ready even to travel that emotional distance that needs to happen here. So I can't wait to clarify some of this. I'm super curious to find out where it's going to go because there's a lot of things going on. So we know there's not a ton of balance between the two of you right now, but part of that is going to be because your person is growing and changing. There's something here that is ending within them or ending for them, ending around them, but there's a rebirth associated with it. Like they know that. They're conscious of the fact that there's not just an ending, it's also going to be a rebirth. And then when they think about you, there's this distance that they will have to travel, and it really does feel like there may also be a physical distance, but it feels like an emotional distance. It also feels like there's a hidden energy of them being willing to do that, and I also feel like this is mutual. That you guys both know that there is a distance, and you guys both are interested in traveling it to a certain degree because your person is just a little bit guarded about the way that they give emotion and their love. They're not necessarily as willing to be vulnerable as you are. And so that's part of why we see the King of Cups here in, how they see the relationship, because it's an opportunity, or it's something that makes them feel like they kind of need to back up a little bit. So let's see what's going to happen for you next. And this is that, really, that next up energy. What is the energy favorable for to have happen for you next, in the very near term? And it's really, what is going to happen with your person? And it's all of this is relevant to you and your relationship, except for this card is really just them. But we want to understand what are they going to do next? How does this work? So 3 of Cups. So that is, that's like taking you out to dinner or coffee or drinks or something like that. It's getting together and having a good time. It's like sitting across a table from someone. So this is really interesting. That could be a really interesting next step, especially depending on what this is here. If this is your person's current energy, where they have something that is ending and there's something that's being reborn. But how does this all play out? Are they looking to maybe change a little bit and look at making that emotional distance, that trip across to get to where you are? Or that's what I'd be curious about with this. So let's start by clarifying this Temperance card. So we have the Temperance card here, and we just want a couple of cards to clarify out of Alice in Wonderland. So we're just going to take, again, this top card. We have the Chariot card, but it's in reverse. So part of the reason that there's not as much of a balance here is because, honestly, it's because there's not as much of a motivation coming from within the two of you to be able to truly move forward. And that sounds kind of different from what I mean, maybe. So there's a lot of energy happening, but it's not necessarily moving you in the direction that you want to go. So it creates kind of this disorganized sort of feel to it. And that's kind of what I'm feeling. We've got a lot of energy. This is the Eight of Flowers, which is like the Eight of Wands. And there's a lot of energy that's really coursing through your situation right now, but it's not especially balanced and it feels off kilter. Both of you have sort of, it's like you started out by going with the flow, but then almost got this sense of, okay, but I legitimately don't think I can steer this thing. So I feel like I'm not even going to really try to steer this, is kind of what I get out of that. It's like being caught in a whirlwind. I remember I saw a tempestuous energy is the word that came out. I cannot honestly tell you when in the last, since I learned that word, that I've actually used that word, but it is what came out there. And I feel like that's what's happening. There's so much going on here, that you guys have both just kind of said, I don't know how I can manage this. This is not the best usage of my energy. But that's kind of the energy between the two of you, almost hands off. I got to back away from this because there's just too much going on here, and it's too tempestuous. So let's look into this Death card here for your person's current energy. And these cards are coming out really fast today. There was a few readings ago I did for you guys that it seemed like, I think it was 10 minutes longer because of all the shuffling I did. So all right, we have the Death card, which again is that cycle of ending and rebirth. It is being modified and clarified by the Seven of Spears in reverse and the Magician in the upright. So this is something that, despite all of this energy over here, your person is still, they're sort of forcing something to happen. And by forcing it, I mean, they're having to work really hard in this tempestuous energy to manifest anything, but they are in fact manifesting. So they are manifesting an ending to something that's has a potential for great rebirth, but it also has an even greater potential for them because it has to do with their own healing and with their own building of their self-trust, I guess. So maybe there was something about this person's self-trust that had a gap or otherwise needed to be shored up. And it has to do with the situation that's ending and where the rebirth is happening. And this person has finally decided, okay, you know what? I'm not satisfied with the way things were. I've made a change. I've forced it to happen despite the fact that things are not necessarily trying to work in my favor at this point. But what also with having this new feeling of self trust, it just really makes things just that much better because then they have that support for the behavior from coming from within themselves. So it just helps out, makes that manifestation so much stronger. So let's take another look at this Two of Wands here, and we're going to see what kind of cards come out for that because that was, remember, I felt like it was that emotional distance card. It's how they feel about you. Like there's a distance between the two of you that could be physical, but definitely feels emotional. The world, and this world is in reverse. This is the something's not over yet. They don't think things are done with you. Even if they never see you again, they aren't done dealing with you in their mind. And then suspension. This is like the Hanged Man card. Just taking that top one. This is like the Hanged Man card, but it's in reverse. And it's that situation where, the Hanged Man is not something that you cast upon yourself. It's a situation that befalls you, okay? And so you you get more perspective because of a situation that is sort of happening to you, but here's a situation where you're kind of still there. Nothing has truly landed yet. The new lessons haven't really come in. This is your person not really knowing quite what to do about this yet. So they know that they've got this distance between the two of you, this gap. But they also have this strong feeling like it's not over yet. That things are not done between the two of you, but they really don't know how to resolve it. It's not something where they can figure out what that next step looks like just yet. Makes me wonder about this next step down here where I see you potentially going out for drinks or going out for lunch or something like that. And if that's the case, maybe it starts to work out some of what's going to happen in this next step. So we'll take a look. Let's look at this King of Cups here, because remember, this is how they feel about the relationship. We're going to take the Seven of Teacups here, which is like the Seven of Cups. And it's a confusing sort of energy, but it's like it's the reason that they're like this. So when they get confused or discombobulated, aren't quite sure what to do about something, they retract a little bit. And wow, okay, so we have the Nine of Hedgehogs, which is like the Nine of Pentacles. And so what you'll see here is that some of their eyes are open and some of them are closed. It's kind of an interesting thing. So this is the Nine of Pentacles, and it's got that feeling to it of being independent, reasonably well balanced. It's not an even number, so it's not going to be as completely well balanced, but it's also it's the concept of that energy that you have when you're single, even if it has nothing to do with being single. It's just that energy that you have when you are. That person, your person really thrives on it and for some reason has identified with it in some kind of way. So even if they're sitting there married and have been for a number of years, there's still something in them that glorifies this single life sort of thing that makes them not want to commit, makes them not want to jump in with both feet and give the whole cup here. And it's the minute that they start to get an inkling that there's something amiss or that they aren't sure exactly what they're looking at, they start to become more reserved. They start to retract a little bit. But there's a desire in here, and I did feel that it was on both of your parts, but there's a desire here to investigate, to explore, to think maybe more about this. So we've got this situation up here where there's this distance between you, and they're very aware of it. But they also are aware that, things are not over with yet. There are still some things that have to happen between you, but they just don't know how to get started on that. So let's see here. We have the Empress. Ooh. Okay, with the Page of Wands, and that's like support from the universe right there. And this is too many cards, and we do have one that came up here. We'll take the top one. This is the Six of Hedgehogs. Okay, so this is they want to be able to get something right that they have not gotten right in the past, and it seems like they it's another thing they kind of don't know how to do. So they want to be able to cross this distance to be able to meet in the middle with you. They feel like this is the right time to be doing it, like this is the point at which they should be learning this lesson. It's about time, they think. This is kind of about time. Oh, and by the way, this is a tough nut to crack for them because it is basically the situation that allows them to be able to do equal emotional sharing, equal give and take, equal energy exchange. And that is, quite frankly, daunting to a person who tends to retract when they get triggered or when they get scared about something. But it looks like in their next step here, they're wanting to see you, they're wanting to go have a good time. Let's clarify that one. It hasn't disappointed. It's been one of those things. I was looking forward to clarifying these as soon as I saw these cards start to hit the table, and it's definitely an interesting story that's unfolding here for us. Okay, so for around this Three of Cups, which is that wanting to go out and get a bite to eat, have a drink, that sort of things. There's this sense of imbalance, and this is an awkwardness sort of imbalance. They are just very nervous about doing something like this, and this is the Six of Flowers, which is like the Six of Wands, and with it being in reverse like this, really just what it feels like is they're not sure that they can be successful. They're not sure that they can be victorious is the word that wants to come to want that I want to say, but it's they don't know how well this is going to go. They don't actually know how well it's going to go from either of your perspectives. If you get here, has too much time gone by, that you can't be successful, or that you can't get on the same page and get balanced, or could it be something a little bit different? What if things do go well? Then what? Did they feel like they can actually cross that span? They're feeling pretty undecided here, not quite sure what's going on. But there is something going on with their current energy right here. They're kind of almost using this maelstrom, this tempestuous energy to help boost them into this manifestation energy. So they're almost kind of, it's like judo. They're using the weight of the opponent to move them. And so it's basically just making the best of what they have. So this is interesting. You have this really intense sort of energy and somebody who is probably making the best of it that they possibly can. But it's still pretty unclear what to do about you, and yet they can't really get their mind off of it. There's this sense here that they do spend a lot of time, thinking about it. And I think I could do this. And sometimes what we've seen in the readings lately has been this, I don't think I can do this. But here's somebody that at least in this energy right now, they are feeling like they can do it. They are feeling like they can come and have a conversation with you. They just have to overcome whatever this thing is over here that causes them to really start to retract their emotion and their love, when they start to see something that confuses them or not be sure how to proceed, or something like that. So what I'd really like to understand here is kind of, I want to dig into this, how they feel about you and the relationship a little bit more, as we go into the extended, because I'm curious to understand. Really, I mean, I can tell that there's this span that they want to connect, but I can't tell how they truly feel. So there is definitely love here. There's also there's some confusion, there's some reactions that are happening here, but I'm curious to understand kind of what that is. We can also take a look at what's going to happen here, as you move into the future. So if this is maybe your very next step, how does it proceed from there? So we'll take a look at that as we go into the extended. I would just say thank you for being here with me through pile one. If this one resonated with you, please do like, share, subscribe so that we can stick together. And I'll be glad to see you over in the extended, which is where I'm headed now, or I will see you in another reading down the road. And now for pile two. This is the pile with the black tourmaline. And I'm going to be reading for you from the Tarot del Toro. Then I'll get clarifications from the Intuitive Night Goddess Tarot. And remember, we did one of these, asking this sort of question a couple of weeks ago, but I think it's probably time we update the information, just because there has been so much shifting, so much changing in the energy in the last couple of weeks, and especially in this first portion here of October. So the first thing we're going to do is get kind of the current energy that's flowing between the two of you. And this is the energy that is, this is, it's the energy of the relationship, but it's kind of really what's flowing between you at this time. So this is the Tower in reverse. Here is a problem that is not being addressed right now. So whether you are in a relationship, whether you're in a situation where maybe you're even in separation, this is a situation that's not being addressed right now. We'll look a little bit more closely at that when we go to clarify. Let's get a feel for what your person's energy is, just their energy. So it's that's the energy between the two of you, something that is not being resolved, something that's not being dealt with. But let's see what the energy is just on their side. So they've got the energy of judgment right now, and this is about them honestly taking a look at their situation to determine what should be done about it. So it feels like they've kind of put everything on hold, this thing that they're not dealing with, but just in general to say, okay, hold on, let's get stuck. What am I doing? Let's take stock. What am I doing right now? What am I doing? What am I thinking about? How does this look? And really that's kind of what they're doing. They're in that place of judging, of looking at the whole thing and trying to determine what they think about it. So let's see how they feel about you. Because I'd like to see still how they feel about you and how they feel about the relationship. All right, so we just take the top card here. And we have the Knight of Discs. So the energy of the Knight of Discs is, and this is like the Knight of Pentacles, but the energy of the Knight of Discs in reverse is, it's a little bit they're a little bit unsure. They're a little bit unsure of what to do, and that is coming out probably in how they are behaving. So they're unsure what to do about you, probably because they're still trying to figure out what they actually want. They have to figure out what they think about the situation that they're in before. Like they're in a big holding pattern right now. They've got things that they are trying to decide. This is not movement. This is again, just not being sure about things. They're not sure what to do about you. And we'll have to clarify to see exactly what that means. Let's see how they feel about the relationship between the two of you. So again, we'll just take that first card and there's a lot of love here. This is the Ace of Goblets. It's like the Ace of Cups. It's that flow of emotion. And with it being in the upright like that, it's something that they really can't ignore this. So there's something relevant to the Tower in reverse here with this as well. Has something to do with all this love. I'm wondering if they have not decided what they're going to do with the fact that they feel all this love. It feels like everything's sitting in sort of this holding pattern. Let's take a look at what the hidden energy is around your situation and around your relationship. Okay, so we've got this 10. Oh, I just want the top card. The 10 of Cups. Okay, so the 10 of Cups can mean a couple of things, but in this case, it's got that feeling of supreme happiness, and you just have to make sure that it's not a mirage. You have to make sure that it's not too good to be true. There is definitely substantial relationship emotion to hold it together, but you have to look at the rest of it and just make sure that the treatment is correct. Clearly, the jury is still out. They aren't quite sure what to do with regard to you at this time. So let's look a little bit more into that. Before we start clarifying though, I want to get this last card. And this is really going to be about kind of what can you be expecting in the near future. This is not necessarily a how does everything turn out sort of card. It's what happens next. So this is a passionate new beginning. That's kind of promising. So I guess let's find out here. Let's clarify and understand a little bit what's happening, because right now we have a situation that's not really being dealt with. But we do have some attention being paid to it. It isn't so much that things are just being ignored. It's that they are actively looking at this situation, trying to decide what they should be doing, and they don't know yet. It's the situation regarding you. They're not yet sure how they should be acting, and so they've sort of held back. They're in a holding pattern right now. But when they think about it, there's just an awful lot of love here involved. The sense around this is that it feels like it's almost too good to be true, and you have to determine whether or not it really is. Your person has to determine this as well. So that's part of what I'm getting there. But the next step here that we see is really moving in some direction. It's a passionate new beginning. So again, I'm going to clarify with the Intuitive Night Goddess Tarot, and I'm excited to clarify this because it's interesting, but I think a lot is going to happen as we learn a little bit more about what is happening in these cards. So we're clarifying that Tower in reverse first. Just a couple of cards, and I dropped some. All right, nothing came out face up, but I'm pretty sure that we did have one turn over. Yes, we have the Chance card. Let's see what else comes out for that. To modify the Tower in reverse, we have the Spirit of Wands. Okay, so the Spirit of Wands is like the King of Wands. And the Chance card is like the Wheel of Fortune. So the Tower card here suggests that there is a force that of trying. Okay, so this is the force that's trying to move things forward. It's trying to get that Wheel of Fortune to turn. But it's really just something that's going to create change. The Spirit of Wands is it's like the King of Wands, but it's got this really strong desire to control things and kind of hold things in that holding pattern right now, before making any real decisions, because at this point it's just not evident what to do, and we see that playing out kind of over here. So let's take a look at this Judgment card, and this is your person's your person's current energy, but it's just their personal current energy. So we have the Mystic, but it's in reverse, and that's like the Hierophant in reverse. Okay, so they're feeling like they're off script, they're off the beaten path, but that's not necessarily enough to cause something to not pass judgment. The other thing that we see here is that it's not unlike this Tower energy. There is something here that needs to end that hasn't. If the Death card were in the upright, I would say this thing is ending, and that there is something new being reborn in its place, because this is a card really not of death, but of the end of one form and the beginning of another. It is about rebirth. But here it's not happening. That rebirth is not being allowed to happen. And here we see that this person is off the beaten path. Those two things could be related. They may not be receiving as much of the support from their society, society in general, their family, whomever, friends, all of the people that could be there to support them. They may not be, I get this feeling like I haven't seen the Seven of Swords come out yet, but I kind of get this feeling like there is some sort of a force that is sort of working against you and saying some things that maybe makes it harder for them to figure out exactly what to think. So that's why they're sitting there in their own energy of judgment right now, saying, hold on, I'm going to take out all of the variables and just kind of understand what's going on here. So let's take a look at this Knight of Discs here, because what we discovered here is that this is how they feel about you. So they're not sure what to do just yet. So they've got this Seven of Wands in reverse, which tells us they're not feeling very confident about things. We also have this Nine of Wands in reverse, which tells us that they're basically, the feel around this Nine of Wands is the giving up sort of feel. It is not the you're being saved feel. And so it's, they are drowning in not knowing what to do and lacking the confidence to just come forward and do something. So you've got a person here who could be incredibly shy, could be almost social anxiety, could be anxiety in general, but they've got a feeling about them. They are also not a person who jumps off a cliff quickly and easily, and so there is definitely a feeling here that they are trying to consider things and understand how to proceed, but they haven't gotten there yet. They, especially with regard to you, they haven't gotten there yet because they lack confidence and they don't know that they have what it takes to keep going. But there's an awful lot of love here. That's what's happening in this relationship. So let's take a look at that. What's happening with the Ace of Goblets? We have both our cards. So we have the Ten of Swords in reverse, which is actually, that's about them, the way you make them feel. You make them feel like almost like you're healing them from something that didn't go well before in the past. And you also are giving them this freedom, this sense of freedom. The freedom card is it's an interesting one in this deck because I think it feels a little bit different every single time I see it. But in this case, it's very clear to me what it means. So this love, this relationship, it makes them, when they think about it, they associate it with love, with taking their pain away, with elevating them and elevating their spirit to a place of new freedom. And that alone is something that kind of scares them and freaks them out a little bit. And it's part of what's contributing to this sense of them not being quite sure what to do here and them having to kind of go back and really let's take stock of the situation and determine what we think is happening here. They don't have the support from their society that they need. And again, something isn't ending that needs to end in order for this judgment to be taken place. So let's take a look then at this 10 of Cups. And this is in that position of what's in that hidden energy. What I got from it was, sometimes the 10 of Cups is that it's fabulous family, love, energy, but it's also sometimes too good to be true. And you want to make sure this isn't a mirage. All right, so we have the Four of Pentacles in reverse, which is about release. It's about letting go. Let's see what else comes out for this. So we also have the Queen of Pentacles. Okay, this one is about, how do I put this? So it doesn't matter whether it's a mirage or if it's real. You are being recommended not to get too attached to what the outcome is here. So one of those things that I often meditate on and that often comes up in these readings is it's about letting go. It's about releasing expectations of situations, which is incredibly difficult to do. But once you've done that, then it won't matter if this 10 of Cups is real or if it's just sort of an illusion there. If you are this Queen of Pentacles who is quite capable of being the head of a household or just being awesome in her own right, and of course, gender notwithstanding, it doesn't matter. It's a queen. So I refer to the person as a her, but it's that essence, that feel of they've got this. They are nurturing. They are capable. The Queen of Pentacles is not concerned about whether or not this is real. She knows she can stand on her own 2 feet. And if you also then have the ability to just kind of stand back and not be attached to that outcome, then again, it's not going to matter. That's going to be the best way to handle this. Is it real or is it more of an illusion? Because we do have something coming up here that looks like more of it's a passionate new start. It feels like a bit of an action. Let's see what is in that. So we've got the Four of Cups. Oh, okay. Well, we'll see how interested you are in this action, or how interested you are in this new beginning, the way that it's being presented to you. We also have the Five of Pentacles. So, I'm not impressed with this Ace of Wands energy, to be perfectly honest. I like the idea of a passionate new beginning, but immediately when the card came out, I thought, gosh, sure wouldn't understand what's underneath that. And the first thing that I see here is that it's kind of not enough. What they end up doing, so there's a lot of them being nervous. And you see they're in this hold pattern. They're very much in a reserving judgment sort of situation. There's a lot of love here. They know that you make them feel incredible. But just like you, they don't know if this is real. And they are not in a position where they're unattached to the outcome or it doesn't matter whether or not it's real. Like it matters to them. And what we see here is sort of this I don't know that it's desperate, but it's poorly timed, maybe. This attempt to reach out to you or it almost feels like somebody reaching out to somebody who would subsequently reach out to you and you being like, what? Very, disappointed with that and thinking this is actually not solving the problem. This is perpetuating the problem. And this is a problem that we're not facing. We're not really solving it. Both of you, if you can get to this place where it doesn't matter, it's okay regardless of how it turns out, then you're going to be in a more comfortable place. But they are definitely not here right now. They are right now trying to determine how they feel about it, what to do. And it seems like what they choose to do may or may not be super well thought out, and it may be difficult then for them to move through this tower situation that is basically something that is unresolved and that is not being resolved. So let's take a look here as we go into the extended. This is a lot of good information, but I feel like I have more questions. I don't have questions on this because I get it. This is the lessons that you guys both need to learn. And it's about being able to not be attached to that outcome. It's about being able to stand on your own 2 feet enough that it doesn't matter so much if somebody's promises or what you feel from them is, whether it's an illusion or a misinterpretation, because I don't get the sense that anybody's really lying here. Um, I do want to understand a little bit more about how they feel about you, though, because there's a lot going on here and there's a lot of that holding pattern sort of thing. So, but just out of curiosity, like how do they actively feel? We see that there's a lot of love here. We see that you set their mind free and there's this feeling that you take away a pain for them. But let's dig a little bit deeper into that. And then let's also understand this. Like, what is this? We have something where maybe they're reaching out again, maybe it's even secondhand, but whatever it is, you don't appear to be real impressed or real receptive. And the interesting thing is, it's like you expected you would be, but then when it gets here, you realize I'm not that person. I am little too close to this Queen of Pentacles to be falling for whatever that is. But by the same token, you still have some healing that has to be done yourself. So they do catch you. It does snag you a little bit. So we'll take a look at that in the extended. I would just say thanks so much for hanging out here with me for pile 2. If this one resonated, please do like and share and subscribe so we can stick together. I hope to see you over in the extended, but if not, then I will see you at a reading at a future time. And now here we are with pile 3. This is the one with the amethyst pointer. And if you check this one out, it's cool. It looks like it has little chevrons in it. So I'm going to be reading for you with the Aquarian Tarot and then clarifying with the Constellation Tarot. And again, we're going to be taking a look at your person and just kind of getting a check-in on them. So we looked at it a couple of weeks ago, but since then the energies have really shifted. There's a lot that's kind of happened. So I want to start by getting current energy between the two of you. And I just want the top card. So we have the Queen of Rods in reverse. Okay, so the Queen of Wands in the upright, or the Queen of Rods in the upright, is this fire energy. It's fire energy in the reverse as well, of course, but it's this fire energy. It's really passionate. She kind of moves forward sometimes at any cost. She's always ready to go. In the reverse, though, you've kind of got a person who's not necessarily ready to go. This is a little bit more hesitant. We'll see a little bit more what's happening when we clarify, but what I'm feeling between the two of you right now is a little bit of hesitation. So let's look into this and just kind of see what your person's current energies are right now. So this was the energy between the two of you. We see the energy of hesitation, but let's see just what's happening with them. This is going to be energy that is very much impacting them and their world. So let's see, we have the Nine of Rods, but it is in reverse. And so this is a feeling of they would like to give up, to it's almost a feeling of like giving up and going beneath the water, like you can't fight it anymore. But it's also wanting to hide. There's a feeling that they want to hide. So there's this feeling of wanting to hide from you, wanting to hide from the relationship, wanting to hide from this feeling that's happening between the two of you, where it's everything is a little bit standoffish and uncertain and maybe a little bit awkward. There's some of that energy coming in. So let's see how they feel about you. That's what I want to see right here. Okay, and we have, ooh, the Hierophant. And what's coming off of this is like the craziest, most amazing energy coming from this card. So this is a person who reveres you very much. They hold you in high regard, high esteem. They think a lot of you. They don't want to make a fool of themselves in front of you. So here's somebody who has a lot of like a lot of respect for you, but they're hiding. It seems like they're hiding from you. So let's understand maybe a little bit more down here how they feel in the relationship or how they feel about the relationship. So we know that about you, that's too many. We know that they are kind of amazed by you, and maybe it's like starstruck. It's got that's the word that wanted to come out when the card first came out. They're amazed by you. Okay, so we have the Hermit in reverse. And this is interesting. This is the second time I've seen this happen here recently where the Hermit came out in reverse, and it does not mean I figured out what I needed to figure out and now I'm here to talk about it. Instead, what it means is, hey, I haven't figured out what it is that I need to figure out yet. So that is their feeling on the relationship, that they still have some learning to do, and this is maybe why they're hiding a little bit, is they feel like they're not maybe up to the task. They're feeling like you impress them in a way that they really don't want to look like a fool in front of you, but they haven't learned what they need to learn, and it makes them feel less than. I think that's the best way to describe it, is they feel less than. So let's see what's happening in this hidden energy for you here. And it's the hidden energy that flows between the two of you. Might be more obvious if you were coming at it from a different vantage point, but this is just what can't you see from where you are currently standing. Ooh, all right. And we have the Four of Pentacles in the reverse. So this is about release. This is about, it really is about releasing attachments, but it's also about releasing expectations and assumptions. That one's going to be interesting when we go to clarify it, because that could mean a lot of different things, but that's the feeling that comes from the card. Let's see here what is likely to happen for you here in the future. So this is not necessarily deep into the future. It's more that what is the energy favorable for to happen next? Which is interesting because you've got this person here. Oh, we have one almost come up. You have a person here that's kind of hiding. You have a non-committal sort of situation happening between the two of you, reservation. Your person is hiding. They really revere you, but I don't know that they've said anything about it. In fact, I feel like they've been kind of quiet. And now they feel like they went off, thought about it for a little while, and things actually kind of got worse. But there's this hidden energy of learning how to break free of the attachments. So let's see what is actually likely to happen for you next. What is the energy favorable for to happen next? And so the Judgment card comes out on top. I always just take the top card unless I feel guided to take more than one. And it happens sometimes, but not this time. So this is the Judgment card, and this one is really around reunion. So if you have a situation where you've not been seeing eye to eye, there's a chance that you may be able to find some resolution here. But if you haven't seen each other, or if you are separate from one another, if they are actually hiding from you, there is an energy here that could lead you back toward one another to give it kind of a shot as far as rejuvenation is concerned. So we'll look a little bit more into that. I'm kind of interested to clarify all of these here. We'll start with the Queen of Rods in reverse. And again, this is that sort of non-committal, I'm not really ready to jump into this sort of feeling. And it's the energy that's flowing between the two of you right now. So it's a little bit standoffish. Boy, these cards are just going everywhere for me today, aren't they? We have the Three of Cups. It isn't that you don't have a good time together, and even if you aren't seeing each other at this point and you haven't seen each other in a little while, it's those memories that you have together that still make each other, or you still make each other happy. And then we have this Seven of Wands here, which is really about, so it's a confidence feeling again, and it's about how the two of you make each other feel, and I think this is part of what's causing the inability for communication, because that's really how this Queen of Rods is coming across here. Everybody's a little bit standoffish, reserved, not coming at you, and yet there's this feeling that in the background, when the two of you think of one another, you remember good times. You actually had really good times together, but you felt so confident next to one another. There's something about that there. Okay. So let's take a look at this Nine of Rods. in reverse. Um, okay, we have one card that's come out for that one already, and it's the Ten of Cups. Interesting. That's that dreamy sort of, things are so amazing that it's dreamy. It's like a social media post that it can't be real. It's like too good to be true. That's the energy that's coming out of that. And here is the Centaurus. And so this Centaurus card is in reverse. This is like the Hierophant, though, in this deck. Um, and with it being in reverse like that, I guess let me see if I can figure out how to even talk about this. So this person is wanting to hide. They hold you in such high regard that they are, it's like they're freaking out and they're bailing. It's like panic. It's like the feeling that comes to me is that feeling like when you were a little kid and you turn the lights off and you were in the basement, like, and you run up the stairs and feel like something's chasing you. That's the kind of feeling of panic that they kind of have here. They don't feel like they have protection. They don't feel like they have guidance or leadership. They have no idea what to do. This situation with you, frankly, feels too good to be true, and it's a little bit triggering to them because they don't believe it's true. They believe that it is probably some sort of illusion, and it doesn't feel safe to them. And they don't have any sort of guidance or leadership moving them into that. Or making them feel like that would be safe. And we saw here this Hierophant, so these feel a little bit different to me. And the same card can come out even out of the same deck two different times, and especially if it's in different orientations or different places in the spread, it can mean something very different. But these two do not mean the same thing. And so this one is, they're both about leadership, but it's really about them feeling like they don't have any guidance. They don't know what to do. They're trying not to mess this up any further. But with you, it's part of it is they just don't want to mess up in front of you. Let's see what else we get there. So we've got the Two of Pentacles. And that's, of course, about balance. It's about balance and it's about juggling. And so they would rather hide than attempt to juggle enough to the point that they would have to seem, that they would be able to seem balanced in front of you. They require a lot of healing. This person requires a lot of healing. And right now, that feels insurmountable to them. And that's part of why you're seeing them retract and hide. They don't know how they could get back into this balance. That's kind of a scary place to be. So what you see is this person is really just, they're incredibly fearful. There's a strong anxiety feel to it. But they're incredibly fearful. And what's coming out in, like, where the place that you can see it is sort of this non-committal. You guys know that you had a great time together. But you also know that there's not very much commitment happening right now. There's not very much communication, sometimes no communication, and then there's this sense here that they are actively hiding from the situation because they are afraid of the way that you make them feel, the way that you come across. So let's look at this Hermit here. And this Hermit in reverse it's about how they feel about your relationship. And what it was, remember, they went into, oh, we've got one that's up here, but we don't want that one. It's like they went into their thinking cave to do some learning and to think about what this relationship was trying to get through to them or to teach them. And they did not, it was inconclusive. Their time in the hermit cave has been inconclusive. They haven't learned everything they came in there to learn. They're still, then that's part of why they're hiding. We have the Eight of Swords. They're doing a lot of overthinking, and they basically have themselves in kind of this overthinking sort of prison. It's that anxiety feeling again. But it's like the precursor to anxiety that is overthinking. And so that's kind of what they've been doing instead of going back in the hermit cave and trying to get it right or anything else. And so we've also got this Page of Cups, which is, and remember, this is modifying how they're feeling about your relationship. So they feel like they haven't got things figured out, but they sure would like to, deep down, they'd like to come forward and have a good time with you again. Feel like they felt when you were shoulder to shoulder and you were facing the world, and you felt like you could do anything together. They wish they could go back, I guess, to that time, but there is something here that is really keeping them hidden, really keeping them in overthinking mode. And feeling like they can't come back yet. Let's take a look at this Four of Pentacles, because this is about release, and it could be a lot of things. So we have the Five of Cups here, which is, that's a story of regret. The Five of Cups is about regret, and it's about, so then maybe it's less release and more forgiveness. We'll see what comes out as far as the other clarifying card. Oh, and it's just one. I'll take it. Page of Swords. Okay, so the Page of Swords is, he's a very confident page, and he's ready for whatever. He's ready to go out and jump in and do anything, but he's not necessarily super experienced at doing so. And then this Five of Cups is all about regret. And this Four of Pentacles is, I was saying before that it's about releasing expectations, but it feels more like maybe it's taking that into the realm of forgiveness. So sometimes, something happens that you're not very happy with, but you have to recognize that that's the only thing that person could have done right then, because of the person that they are, the experiences that they have, the thoughts, the moods, everything that's happening right there. That's the choice they were going to make. I mean, everyone has free will, but you also have all of those things that kind of lead up to it. And so this is a card in this hidden energy of forgiveness. And it's about forgiving yourself for your role in other people's pain. It's also about forgiving them for their role in yours. So there's some regret here that feels a little bit mutual, but both of you have got to be able to walk away from that. Especially your person has to be able to walk away from that, because right now they're hiding, they're talking themselves into, this is too good to be true. I need to run away from it. I don't have the right guidance for this. I'm just going to hang back. I didn't learn what I needed to learn. I have definitely not forgiven myself for kind of making a mess of this so far. There's a lot of that emotion in there, but it's what needs to happen in order for things to be successful going forward. Because it does look like there's a chance for rejuvenation, or for the two of you to maybe come back together. So we've got the Knight of Wands in reverse. Okay, so watch out about this. This Judgment may have the two of you coming back together, and the Sun. Whew, you may be having an incredible, incredible time. The thing to watch here is this Knight of Wands, though, because there's a great deal of fear in this Knight of Wands. And what I see is this person could run back and go back out into hiding fairly easily, because this is a very powerful emotion. That part isn't changing about things. It's really going to hinge on, I guess, it's going to hinge on what happens next. How successful it is when the two of you are able to come together hinges on what happens next here, with that hidden energy of being able to forgive. Really, it's about them being able to forgive themselves, and then they also have to kind of come back and ask for your forgiveness, or at least that's how things feel to them. And right now there's kind of this environment of not communicating between the two of you, although there is a lot of reminiscing about the good times. So a lot of opportunity for good times again here in the future, but you will want to be very careful about this. Maybe not get your hopes up, because this Knight of Wands can extricate himself from the situation just as quickly as he can place himself in it. And depending on how much he's learned here, we know that he has a desire to come in and communicate. We know that he wants to do that. We know that he's got this desire to come forward, but maybe isn't allowing himself to do it, and partially because he knows he's not necessarily going to think it through real well, and doesn't have all of the solutions. But sometimes you don't have to have all of the solutions to come in and just kind of start working on something. So this overthinking is really probably not serving this person very much. But if they can get to this piece where the two of you are able to come back together, and if they've grown enough within themselves to be able to be more consistent, then you could see something more positive there. So I am going to move over to the extended to ask that question, though, kind of what is going to happen next here. So we've got this situation where there is great potential for the two of you, but it has a lot to do with whether you can get to where you need to go, in the realm of forgiveness, and whether maybe some of these lessons can either be learned, or maybe they don't need to be. before you have this opportunity to come together. So we'll take a look at that. We're also going to take a closer look at how they feel about you, because I feel like their current energy is very much steeped in how they feel about you. So we'll take a closer look at that and see if we can understand, and maybe understand a little bit about how they could unlock that. Because right now it just makes them very quiet. And then maybe we'll see what bridges you guys from where you are in your current energy to that better place where this Knight of Wands is more right side up, even though he still has his own questions, rather than being in reverse like that. So that's what we're going to do. We'll go over to the extended. Thank you so much for hanging out with me for pile 3. If this one resonated for you, I would just ask for you to like and share and subscribe, and that way we'll be able to stick together. So I'll see you over in the extended, or I will see you in another reading.